unlimited drama series.
How does a single celebratory kiss at work become the spark that burns through a marriage in front of everyone I know? Why did my husband, humiliated in public, choose to fight back not with anger, but with paperwork and silence, turning my own story against me until the final devastating moment when I realized who the real villain was? Can I still blame him when the outcome lands in my hands? I'm LaVonna Thorne, and 6 months ago, I thought I was living my best life. At 33, I was finally getting the recognition I deserved as marketing manager at TechFlow, a startup that was everything my husband Owen's teaching job wasn't. Fast-paced, innovative, and full of people who understood ambition. Owen taught high school history, came home tired every day, and seemed content with his small, predictable world. I wanted more. That's how I justified everything that came next. The stage lights were blinding as I stood next to Damian Keller, our charismatic CEO, accepting the Q3 Excellence Award. The entire company was watching from the open plan office below, phones raised to capture the moment. I'd worked 18-hour days for this recognition, and it felt like vindication for every time Owen had suggested I was pushing too hard. LaVonna's campaign increased our client retention by 47%, Damian announced into the microphone, his hand warm on my lower back. She's the kind of innovative thinker that makes TechFlow unstoppable. The applause was intoxicating. This was what success felt like. Being seen, being celebrated, being valued for what I could achieve. When Damian turned to me with that brilliant smile and said, "Congratulations, superstar," before kissing my cheek, well, maybe it lingered a moment longer than professional, and maybe I leaned into it. But it was just celebration, right? The crowd went wild. Someone shouted, "Get it, LaVonna," and I laughed, throwing my arms up in victory. The kiss, the applause, the recognition, it was everything I'd been working toward. I didn't notice Owen in the back of the crowd until later, when I was scrolling through the videos people had tagged me in. There he was, a gray figure in his teacher clothes, watching with an expression I couldn't quite read. When I got home that night, flushed with success and wine from the after-party, he was already in bed. "How was the award thing?" he asked without looking up from his book. "Amazing. Incredible. Did you see the videos? Everyone's talking about it." "I saw." His voice was flat. "Damian said I'm exactly what the company needs. He's hinting at a promotion." Owen nodded, still reading. "That's nice." Nice? I just had the biggest professional moment of my career. And he thought it was nice? I sat on the edge of the bed, my excitement curdling into irritation. "You could be happy for me." "I am happy for you." But he wasn't looking at me, and something in his tone felt wrong. Cold. When I tried to show him the videos on my phone, he glanced at the screen for maybe 2 seconds before turning back to his book. "The kiss was a bit much, don't you think?" he said quietly. I felt my defenses rise. It was a celebration, a professional moment. Don't make it weird because you're not comfortable with success. He finally looked at me then, and I saw something I'd never seen before. Not anger, but a kind of careful distance. Right. Success. The next morning, I posted my favorite clip on Instagram with the caption, "When you work this hard, celebration feels this good." Hashtag worth, it hashtag TechFlow family, hashtag women in tech. The likes poured in. Marina, my closest friend, commented, "Queen, Owen better step up or step aside." Dozens of colleagues and industry contacts chimed in with fire emojis and congratulations. But Owen left for work early without saying goodbye, and when I checked our shared calendar later, I noticed he'd added several cryptic appointments. Downtown 925, and meeting personal, scattered throughout the coming weeks. I shrugged it off. He was probably just being dramatic. Success made some people uncomfortable, and Owen had always been content with mediocrity. I wasn't going to dim my light just because he couldn't handle my shine. The video went viral within a week. Not just among my professional network, but everywhere. LinkedIn, Twitter, even TikTok. Boss kiss goes viral, and workplace celebration or something more. I should have been thrilled by the attention, but the comments were getting weird. Is she married? That's not how my boss congratulates me. Plot twist. Husband filming in the background, looking done. I tried to ignore the noise and focus on work, where Damien was treating me like his right hand. We had daily strategy meetings that ran long brainstorming sessions that felt electric with possibility. He had this way of making me feel like the smartest person in the room, like my ideas could change everything. You're wasted in middle management, he told me during one of our late evening sessions. You think like a founder. That's rare. When he suggested I join him for the upcoming investor mixer on the company rooftop, I knew it was my chance to prove I belonged in the C-suite. Owen was teaching late that night anyway, some school board meeting, so I didn't even mention it. The rooftop party was everything I'd imagined. String lights, craft cocktails, the city sparkling below us as Damien introduced me to investors and industry leaders. I was in my element, discussing market strategies and growth projections, feeling like I finally belonged somewhere that matched my ambitions. Levana's the secret weapon, Damien told a group of potential investors. She sees opportunities where others see obstacles. The wine was flowing, the conversation was brilliant, and when Damien pulled me aside to the edge of the rooftop, I thought he was going to tell me about the promotion. Instead, he cupped my face and kissed me. Really kissed me. Not a professional peck, but something deeper, hungrier. For a moment, I melted into it. The validation, the passion, the feeling of being wanted by someone who understood my drive. The flash of phone cameras brought me back to reality. The investors were watching, some amused, others uncomfortable. I pulled away, laughing nervously. Damien, we should... Should what? His eyes were bright with wine and something else. Stop pretending we don't have something special? I looked around at the faces watching us, some smirking, others already typing on their phones. This would be online within minutes. But instead of panic, I felt a strange thrill. Let them watch. Let them see that I was the kind of woman who inspired passion, who commanded attention. I was posting my own version, rooftop celebrations with the best team in tech. When I noticed Owen standing by the elevator bank inside the building, he must have finished his meeting early. Our eyes met through the glass doors, and I saw him take in the scene. Me, disheveled and flushed, Damien's arm still around my waist, the investors watching with knowing smiles. Owen didn't storm over. He didn't make a scene. He just looked at me for a long moment, his face completely blank, then turned and walked away. I should have followed him. I should have explained. Instead, I stayed for another hour, riding the high of being the center of attention, telling myself that Owen's reaction proved he didn't understand the person I was becoming. When I got home near midnight, he was in the guest room with the door closed. I could hear the printer running and papers shuffling, but when I knocked, he didn't answer. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls and a phone full of notifications. The kiss was everywhere. Gossip blogs, industry newsletters, even the local news had picked it up as a startup culture gone wild story. But worse than the media attention was the text from Priya Sen in HR. Please see me first thing Monday. We need to discuss recent events. The HR meeting was humiliating. Priya sat across from me in her sterile office, a folder of printed screenshots between us like evidence at a trial. Levana, I need to address some concerns about your conduct at company events. Concerns? I kept my voice steady, professional. I'm not sure what you mean. She slid a photo across the desk. The rooftop kiss, captured in high definition. This was taken at a company-sponsored event with investors present. It's created some complications. That's a private moment being blown out of proportion. Damien and I are both adults, and our professional relationship is exactly the problem. Priya's voice was firm. He's your direct supervisor. This creates liability issues, not to mention the impact on company culture. I felt the familiar surge of anger that came whenever someone tried to police my choices. So when men celebrate success, it's leadership. When women do it, it's a liability. This isn't about gender, Lavana. It's about boundaries. Boundaries. The word everyone used when they wanted to keep you small. I left that meeting furious, but also determined to control the narrative. If people were going to talk, I'd give them something worth discussing. I crafted my response carefully. Growth hurts those who stay small. Not everyone can handle watching others rise. Hashtag unapologetically ambitious. Hashtag women supporting women. Marina loved it. Yes. Show them you won't be shamed for being powerful. My mother called that afternoon, her voice tight with worry. Lavana, honey, your Aunt Yolena saw the videos. She's very upset. Aunt Yolena needs to mind her own business. She's family, we all are. And Eva, she's been asking questions. Eva, my 7-year-old daughter, caught in the middle of something she couldn't understand. I'd been so focused on my professional life that I'd barely noticed how quiet she'd become. How she'd started drawing pictures of our family with Owen on the far side of the page, gray and distant. Eva's fine. This is just workplace drama, being blown up by people with nothing better to do. And Owen, how is he handling this? I glanced toward the guest room, where I could hear him on the phone, speaking in low, measured tones. He'd been sleeping there for 2 weeks now, claiming he didn't want to disturb my early morning calls with the West Coast team. But I suspected the real reason was that he couldn't stand to be close to me. Owen is being Owen, dramatic and insecure. But even as I said it, I felt a flicker of unease. Owen wasn't dramatic. He was the most measured person I knew, which made his current behavior, the late nights organizing files, the cryptic calendar appointments, the way he documented everything, somehow more unsettling than if he'd just yelled at me. That evening, I found him in the guest room, surrounded by labeled folders and USB drives, bank statements, utility bills, mortgage documents, all organized with the same methodical precision he brought to his lesson plans. What's all this? He looked up from his laptop, and I noticed dark circles under his eyes. Just getting organized. Organized for what? Some things just need proof. I laughed, but it came out forced. Proof of what? That you pay the electric bill on time? He didn't smile. Something like that. I tried to look over his shoulder at the screen, but he closed the laptop smoothly. Owen, you're being weird. Can we just talk about this like adults? About what? About whatever's bothering you, about the videos, about work, about why you're acting like I've committed some crime. He was quiet for so long, I thought he wouldn't answer. Then, when did you stop caring what I thought? The question caught me off guard. I do care? When did my feelings become insecurity? When did my concerns become drama? I felt cornered, attacked. When they started holding me back. When you started punishing me for succeeding. Is that what you think this is? Isn't it? He nodded slowly, like I'd confirmed something he'd suspected. You'll understand soon. That night, I lay awake listening to the printer hum in the guest room, papers shuffling, the quiet clicks of Owen's keyboard. Whatever he was preparing, it felt bigger than a marriage fight. It felt like something ending. The breaking point came at Ava's birthday party. We'd planned a small family gathering at my parents' house, just the core family, nothing fancy. But the tension was suffocating from the moment we arrived. Aunt Yolena pulled me aside in the kitchen, her face tight with disapproval. Lavana, what are you doing? I'm living my life, Aunt Yolena. I'm sorry if that makes you uncomfortable. This isn't about me being uncomfortable. It's about you embarrassing this family. Those videos, everyone's seen them. The neighbors, people at church, Ava's school. Ava's school? My stomach dropped. The teachers are talking. The other parents. That poor child doesn't understand why everyone's whispering about her mother. I glanced toward the living room where Eva was opening presents, Owen sitting beside her with that same careful distance he'd maintained for weeks. He was present, but not really there. going through the motions while his mind was somewhere else. People talk because they're jealous, because they've never had the courage to go after what they want. And what you want is worth destroying your marriage, your family. Before I could answer, Ava ran into the kitchen holding up a drawing. Mommy, look what I made. It was a family portrait, but wrong in ways that made my chest tight. She'd drawn herself in the middle, me on one side with a big smile and arms reaching towards something off the page, and Owen on the far side, small and gray, with a sad face and arms folded. That's beautiful, sweetheart.
I was drunk. I didn't know what I was doing.
Drunk? I have everything on video.
Watch more on Grammarly.com.
I managed. Daddy's been sad, Eva said matter-of-factly. He sleeps in the office now. Are you getting divorced like Mia's parents? The kitchen went silent. Aunt Yolena's face softened with sympathy. Not for me, but for Eva, for Owen, for everyone except the person who'd caused this mess. No, baby, I said, forcing brightness into my voice. Daddy's just working on some projects. Everything's fine. But as I said it, I caught Owen's reflection in the kitchen window. He was watching us with an expression I'd never seen before. Not hurt or anger, but something colder, more final. That night I tried to talk to him. Really talk. Not just defend or deflect. Owen, we need to figure this out. For Eva. I am figuring it out. He was at his desk again, printer running, files organized in neat stacks. I noticed he'd labeled everything with dates and times, like he was building a timeline. Now, what are you working on? Documentation. Documentation of what? He turned to look at me, and I saw something I'd been missing for weeks. Owen wasn't broken or insecure. He was methodical, preparing, planning something I couldn't see yet. Of everything, Lavana? Every choice you've made, every consequence you've dismissed, every time you've chosen your image over your family. That's not... The first video has 2.3 million views. The second one has 4.1 million. Eva's classmates have seen them. My students have seen them. Your behavior has become entertainment for strangers. I felt my defenses rising. So I should hide? Apologize for being successful? You should care that your daughter is asking me if we're getting divorced. You should care that she draws pictures of our family falling apart. You should care about something other than how many likes you get. I do care. When? When do you care about us? Between posting on Instagram and having dinner with Damien? Between building your personal brand and tearing down your actual life? His voice was still calm, but there was something underneath it that made me step back. Owen had always been gentle, accommodating. This version of him, sharp, direct, uncompromising, was someone I didn't know how to handle. I'm building something important, a career, a future. For who? The question hung in the air. For Eva? For us? Or for the version of myself that lived online, that existed only in the validation of strangers? You wouldn't understand, I said finally. He nodded like I'd given the exact answer he'd expected. No, I wouldn't. The next morning, I found a folder on the kitchen counter labeled Statement. Inside were printed screenshots of every social media post I'd made in the past 6 months, time-stamped and organized chronologically. My own words, my own choices, laid out like evidence. Owen was already gone. His calendar showed another downtown appointment, and this time I noticed the address. Hartwell and Associates, Family Law. I should have been terrified when I realized Owen was seeing a divorce lawyer. Instead, I felt a strange mixture of relief and defiance. If he wanted to make this a battle, I'd show him what I was capable of. The TechFlow investor dinner was my chance to prove that everything I'd sacrificed was worth it. The company had landed 3 major clients since the viral videos, and Damien was finally ready to announce my promotion to VP of Strategic Development. This was my moment. I spent the day getting ready. Hair, makeup, the perfect dress that said executive without trying too hard. I posted a mirror selfie with the caption, "Big announcements tonight. Sometimes you have to bet on yourself. Hashtag TechFlowFamily. Hashtag leadership." The comments were overwhelmingly supportive. My professional network was rallying around me, treating the personal drama as background noise to my career ascent. Marina commented, "Serve. Show them what a real boss looks like." When I got home to change, Owen was in the kitchen with Eva, helping her with homework. The scene was so normal, it almost broke my heart. My husband and daughter at the table. Her math worksheets spread between them, the late afternoon light making everything golden. "Mommy!" Ava ran to hug me. "Daddy's helping with fractions. They're hard." "I bet they are, sweetheart." I kissed the top of her head, breathing in her shampoo smell. "I have to go to a work dinner, but I'll see you in the morning, okay?" Owen didn't look up from the homework. "Eva, why don't you go wash your hands for dinner?" When she was gone, he finally met my eyes. "Big night?" "The biggest. Damien's announcing my promotion. Congratulations." But there was something in his voice. Not bitterness, but a kind of finality that made my stomach clench. "Owen, about the lawyer thing." "What lawyer thing?" "I saw your calendar. Hartwell and Associates." He nodded slowly. "Right. Are we really doing this? Over some workplace drama? Is that what you think this is? Workplace drama?" I wanted to fight, to make him understand that he was throwing away something good over his own insecurities. But looking at him, really looking, I saw someone I'd lost track of weeks ago. Owen had made up his mind about something, and I was just now realizing how far behind I was. "We should talk when I get back." "Sure," he said, but we both knew we wouldn't. The investor dinner was everything I'd dreamed of. The ballroom at the downtown hotel was elegant, filled with the kind of people who made decisions that mattered. Damien introduced me to venture capitalists and industry leaders, and I felt like I was finally where I belonged. "Ladies and gentlemen," Damien announced during dessert, "I want to introduce you to TechFlow's newest VP of Strategic Development, LaVonna Thorne." The applause was thunderous. I stood gracious and confident, accepting congratulations from people who controlled millions in funding. This was success. This was worth everything. I was posting a celebration photo when the server appeared at my elbow. "Ms. Thorne, this is for you." The envelope was thick, official-looking. I assumed it was a congratulatory note from one of the investors, until I opened it and saw the letterhead. Hartwell and Associates, Family Law. Petition for dissolution of marriage. The words swam on the page: irreconcilable differences, custody arrangements, division of assets. My name, Owen's name, Eva's name, all reduced to legal language on official paper. The ballroom suddenly felt too loud, too bright. I looked around at the faces still turned toward me, some curious, others beginning to whisper. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, I could see the street below, and there, leaning against a lamppost, with his hands in his pockets, was Owen. He wasn't angry or dramatic. He was calm, finished, like someone who'd completed a long and difficult project. When our eyes met through the glass, he nodded once, not cruel, just final, and walked away. The ballroom erupted in whispers as I stood frozen, divorce papers in my hands. Damien appeared at my side, his face a mixture of concern and calculation. "LaVonna, what's—" "I need to go." But there was nowhere to go. The investors were watching, phones were appearing, and I could already imagine the headlines. "Viral Kiss Executive Served Divorce Papers at Company Event." I tried to salvage it, forcing a laugh as I folded the papers. Well, that's one way to kill a celebration buzz. A few people chuckled nervously, but the damage was done. The magic of the evening, my moment of triumph, had curdled into spectacle. I was no longer the successful executive being celebrated. I was the woman whose personal life had exploded in public. Again. The next few days blurred together in a haze of legal meetings and damage control. Owen's petition was devastating in its thoroughness. He documented everything, not just the viral videos, but months of my choices laid out in careful detail. Late nights at the office while he handled Eva's bedtime alone. Missed school events because of work dinners. Social media posts that prioritized my image over my family's privacy. Text messages with Damien that, while not explicitly sexual, showed an emotional intimacy that had no place in a marriage. "Your husband's attorney is very thorough," my lawyer Janet told me during our first meeting. "He's built a compelling case for primary custody." "Primary custody? Eva's my daughter." And according to this documentation, she's been primarily cared for by her father for the past 8 months. School pickups, doctor appointments, homework help, it's all here. I stared at the timeline Owen had created, my own life reflected back at me through his meticulous record keeping. Every choice I'd made in pursuit of my career goals, every moment I'd prioritized my professional image, was now evidence of my failure as a mother. He can't just take her away from me. He's not trying to take her away. He's asking for primary custody with generous visitation rights for you. Given the public nature of your situation and the impact it's had on your daughter's school environment, it's not an unreasonable request. The school environment. I'd forgotten about that until Janet mentioned it. Ava had been dealing with whispers and questions about her mother's viral moments for months, while I'd been basking in professional glory. Work became a nightmare. The viral videos that had once seemed like proof of my success now felt like evidence of my poor judgment. Priya scheduled another HR meeting, this time with Damien present. Given recent developments, she said carefully, we think it would be best if you took some time off. Let things cool down. You're firing me after everything I've achieved for this company? We're offering you a generous severance package, Damien said, not meeting my eyes. The optics have become challenging. Challenging? I'd made them millions, brought in major clients, transformed their market position, and now I was challenging. This is because of the divorce papers. You're punishing me for being humiliated. We're protecting the company, Priya said. And honestly, Lavana, we're protecting you too. The attention isn't going to get better. She was right. The story had taken on a life of its own. Tech executive's marriage implodes after viral workplace romance. My personal drama had become entertainment, and every new development, the divorce filing, my departure from TechFlow, even my grocery store runs, was documented and dissected online. The worst part was Eva. She'd started having nightmares, asking why people at school knew things about our family, why her friends' parents looked at me strangely during pickup. "Mommy, are you famous?" she asked one evening as I helped her with homework, a responsibility I'd inherited by default now that Owen had moved out. "No, sweetheart. People just know about Mommy's work. Mia's mom said you kissed your boss, like in the movies." My heart clenched. Grown-up stuff is complicated, Eva. But it doesn't change how much I love you. I know, but I wish it wasn't on the internet. That night I sat in my empty apartment. Owen had taken only what he needed, leaving behind a space that felt hollowed out, and really looked at what I'd built. My social media following had exploded, but the comments were increasingly cruel. My professional network had distanced themselves. My family was polite but cold. I'd gained the whole world's attention and lost everything that actually mattered. The final blow came 3 months later. I was at Marina's birthday party, one of the few social events I still felt welcome at, trying to pretend everything was fine. The wine was flowing, the music was loud, and for a moment I almost felt like my old self. That's when Marina's friend Jake handed me a printed screenshot. "Thought you should see this," he said with a smirk that made my stomach drop. It was a message from Owen in Jake's group chat, sent hours earlier. "She's on her way. Record everything." I stared at the paper, the words not making sense. "What is this?" "Your ex set you up," Jake said, his phone already recording my reaction. "He told us you'd show up tonight trying to make him jealous, and he wanted proof of whatever you'd do next." The music seemed to cut out, even though it was still playing. Every face in the room was turned toward me, some amused, others uncomfortable, all of them watching my humiliation unfold in real time. "Owen's not even here," I said weakly. "Exactly. He knew you'd come anyway. He knew you'd perform for the cameras because that's what you do." And he was right. Even now, even after losing everything, I'd dressed for this party like it was a red carpet. I'd posted a story about living my best life before I'd even arrived. I'd walked into this room ready to prove I was thriving, never realizing I was walking into one final trap. Owen had played a longer game than I'd ever imagined. While I'd been collecting likes and building my personal brand, he'd been collecting evidence and building his case. While I'd been performing my success online, he'd been quietly, methodically, legally dismantling the life I'd taken for granted. I wasn't here to hurt him. I was here to be exposed, one last time, as exactly who I'd become. Someone who valued performance over truth, applause over love, viral moments over real life. Standing in that room full of strangers with cameras, holding proof of my own predictability, I finally understood what Owen had been trying to tell me for months. Some things just need proof, and now he had all the proof he'd ever need. The phones kept recording as I walked out, my heels clicking against the floor like a countdown. Behind me, I could hear the whispers starting, the notifications pinging, the machinery of viral content grinding into motion one more time. But this time, I wasn't the star of the story. I was just the spectacle.